Okay, world history students, we are going to talk today about Judaism and the ancient Hebrews, who are the ancestors of the people that we know today as Jews. This is one of the oldest religions that still exists in the world, and it is the oldest monotheistic religion. So we're in our who box at the top of your notes. Who are the Hebrews? Please write down that they are the first monotheistic people. Monotheism means belief in one God. And they are also the first, also called Jews or Israelites. When you're done filling in your who box, please add monotheism to your pink vocab sheet. Where were the ancient Hebrews located? They lived in the Fertile Crescent, right between the Mediterranean Sea and the Jordan River Valley. You can't see the Jordan River on here, but this is the area in between it, and it's this green area here. And please take a minute to highlight or color in this area on your note sheet so that you can see it and so that it stands out since the copy is not so great. Mesopotamia is right over here with the Tigris and Euphrates. Here is the Mediterranean Sea, Egypt, and the Red Sea and the Arabian Peninsula, just to orient yourself. The founder of Judaism is a man named Abraham, and Abraham is considered the father of the Jewish people. And he was a man from Sumer, from Mesopotamia, who made a covenant, an agreement or promise with God in around 1800 BCE, according to biblical sources. What is this covenant? The covenant says that Abraham and Sarah, who was his wife, will accept and believe in one God. And remember, everybody at this time was polytheistic, so they're going to be different. They're going to believe in one God. God, in exchange, will make Abraham's descendants a great nation. You don't need to write down this long paragraph, but you should be aware of the story wherein Abraham is told to prove his promise to God and his belief in God by sacrificing his son Isaac. He takes Isaac up a mountain and is going to sacrifice him, but at the last minute, he's got Isaac like tied up, ready to go. He is told, nope, he proved his loyalty to God and he should sacrifice an animal instead. So, what are the key beliefs of Judaism? There is only one God. The Jews are God's chosen people, chosen for the covenant, and that God and the Jewish people have a covenant, have a special agreement and commitment to each other. There are some important people other than Abraham that you need to know. Number one of those people is Moses. Moses is important to the story of the history of the Jewish people because he led the Hebrews out of slavery in Egypt, and this is called Exodus. The word Exodus means leaving, going out. Moses received the Ten Commandments from God, and these are the 10 rules that provide the basis for morals and ethics in Jewish life. We'll talk more about them in a couple minutes. And he led the Hebrews to the Promised Land. And this is the place in the world that today is where the modern nation of Israel is. And one of the reasons that Israel is so hotly contested, one of the reasons that part of the world is so hotly contested, is because Jews, Muslims, and Christians all have religious claims on the land there. Other important people you should know: David, who is credited with founding the city of Jerusalem, which becomes like the most sacred city in all of Judaism, and today is the capital of the modern state of Israel. And then his son, Solomon, who is credited with building the first temple in Jerusalem, and this is an artist's picture of what that looked like. And the closer you got, the holier you were. So, depending on what your status in society was, you might or might not be able to enter each of these different areas, with this part being the most holy. Solomon has a reputation for being a very wise king. The famous story about him is that two mothers come to him, or one of the famous stories, two mothers come to him and say, "Hey, this is my baby." And there's one baby, and they both claim that it belongs to them. He says, "Okay, we'll cut the baby in half. You can each have half." And the woman who immediately says, "No, no, we're not going to harm this baby. This is not going to harm this child." That is the one that King Solomon knows must be the true mother of the child. Here's another picture of the temple as it was back then. Again, this is an artist's picture of it. The thing is that the temple was destroyed. It was actually destroyed twice. It was destroyed once, it was rebuilt, and it was destroyed again. If we look at this overhead shot of the modern city of Jerusalem, here, this wall here is really all that remains of the temple, and this is the western wall, and it is a holy site for Jews. People take trips there to go, simply to go to this wall and to pray. People write down little prayers and leave them in the cracks in the wall. It is the holiest site for Jewish people today. And remember, I said that this was a place in the world where there's religious claim from lots of people. Up here on what used to be the Temple Mount, the big flat area where the temple was, is the Dome of the Rock, which is one of the most famous mosques in the world. It's a place of worship for Muslims. And underneath the dome is literally a rock. And according to Jewish tradition, that rock is the top of the mountain where Isaac was almost sacrificed by Abraham. And it's the same rock where, according to Muslim practices, Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, ascended to heaven. So, literally, right on top of each other are these most holy sites. And the place where Jesus was crucified and where Jesus was buried is not far from here either. So, all three monotheistic religions are right here in one little part of one city. What is the sacred book of Judaism? The sacred book is the Torah. The Torah tells the history of the Jewish people and sets out laws for the people to follow. There are actually 613 different laws, different commandments in the Torah. And very Orthodox Jews attempt to follow all 613. We talked before about Moses receiving the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments provide the basic ethical, moral rules for how Jewish people should act, both when dealing with God and when dealing with other people. The first three of these commandments are about an individual's relationship with God, and the rest of the commandments are all about how people deal with each other. Judaism spreads out around the world. Jews are living in what is now Israel, but that land gets taken over by other people, and the Jews are exiled from Jerusalem and forced to move to Babylon. This is called the Babylonian exile. Eventually, many of them return, but a lot of others continue to live both in Babylon and then to move other places around the world. And this creates what we call a diaspora. A diaspora is when you have members of your group living away from their homeland. And the two most famous examples in the world today of the diaspora are the Jewish diaspora and the African diaspora. These are both communities that have many people living away from their homeland. Take a moment when you're done writing your notes on the spread of Judaism to add exile and diaspora to your pink vocab sheet. There is no spot for exile. What you need to do is cross out calligraphy, Write exile below and fill in that information. Okay. Anti Semitism is not on your note sheet, but it is on your vocabulary sheet. You need to add the definition for anti Semitism, which means hatred for Jewish people because they are Jewish. And we'll talk about periods of anti Semitism in Europe later this year. The example of anti Semitism that you're probably most familiar with is the Nazis and Hitler in World War II were an anti Semitic group. Lastly, Judaism lays the groundwork on which the rest of the monotheistic religions are built. The God of Judaism is the same God as Christians worship and the same God as Muslims worship. In Islam, people use the Arabic word for God, Allah, but it's the same God. Christianity takes the Torah and calls it the Old Testament because they add the New Testament, the life of Jesus, and say, hey, there was this word from God in the Old Testament, but Jesus boils it down to be a much simpler. There's not 613 commandments anymore. There's a few simple rules, and that's what you need to do to follow God. And then Islam comes along and says, okay, there were good ideas in these other writings, and there were Hebrew prophets, and Jesus is a prophet, but the last prophet, the one with the final say from God, is Muhammad. And that is the teaching that we should be following. So all of these monotheistic religions worship the same God, and they are built on each other. Make sure that you have your vocabulary sheet filled out, and make sure that your notes are complete. If you missed anything, get it from a friend. You guys are going to go on now to work on your Middle East map if there is time for the rest of class. And next time we see each other, you will have a quiz on Egypt and Mesopotamia. You will not be able to use your notes, but you do need to complete that review chart and take it home with you so that you can use it to study. All right, guys, thank you very much. I hope you have a very good day.